Now, the Buck is the oldest pub in Newtown, just outside, after the park. It's just on the side here, black and white building there. Done an investigation there as well. Lots of things happen, but these are the stories I've been told, like I say again, through people. And the Buck used to be a coach house, and I remember where they used to put the horses. It's all gone now, but I remember it when I was a boy. So you just imagine all the highwaymen pulling up and putting their horses outside. Anyway, the building, the beams in the building are from the Spanish Armada. Because in Wales, I don't know if you know this, but in Wales, the English wanted the green oak of Wales because it was better oak than the English oak. And the Welsh people said, if you have our Welsh oak, we have to have the Spanish Armada Rex. So a lot of the old buildings in this area are built from the Spanish Armada. And I was told that one man was in there one night and he seen just a pair of hands holding up one of the beams, and I think what I was one of the sailors drowned in on the beam, you know. And also on the same beam a man has hanged himself, and he's been seen hanging from the building, from the beam. And downstairs where the fireplace is, a cavalier has been seen standing by the fireplace with a small dog, not a Cavalier King Charles, but a little spaniel, or not spaniel, a little terrier, or something like, or Jack Russell has been seen downstairs. But also on the middle floor, they've had a man standing by the one bedroom door in a top hat, and he's been seen. And also the furniture moves in that bedroom. The bed has been moved so many inches. When we did the investigation there, the bed was moved. And also a beautiful lady in a linen dress has been seen wandering around the top part of the building. But downstairs, they got in the cellar part. There is two tunnels, and one goes through the town centre, and the other one comes into the park down to the river. And when in the Civil War and before that, you'd like to say Newtown was full of brigands and highwaymen, and they used to take all the illegal substances through the town centre into the park to sell it to the last Welsh chieftain, you know. So they used to do a lot of selling and then take it through the river on the old coracles down the river down to Shrewsbury, that end. And the story is that the Buck was used in the Civil War. Charles I came to the town to hide from the Roundheads, and he was taken under the tunnel into the park here, and then from the park up to the Brim Bank to We for Kings to Us, and that's where he said they hid him in the fireplace there, and then he went on to North Wales to get away from the Roundheads. But Oliver Cromwell followed him with 700 odd men, and they reckon that Oliver Cromwell went into the Buck and went through the tunnels. But Newtown, there's catacombs all the way through the town centre, and where the Queen Vic is in town, the Victoria Vaults, they're as you get the name Vaults. An old lady, she told me that her great-grandfather started to dig out. They wanted the cellar to be made bigger, and as they started digging down, all the men fell through. And as they fell through, they all got up, and they were in this massive tunnel, and there was 2 skeleton horses down there, and the horse has been seen coming through the wall of the Victoria Vaults. And across the road, you've got the Black Boy, and the Black Boy, as a lady has been seen, her name is Elizabeth, she's even said her name, Elizabeth, and she's been seen on the middle floor. And at the back part of the building, where the door used to be for the carriages, another beautiful woman has been seen coming out of the wall and stepping up into nothing. So we think it's a carriage. The other side of the park, you got the doctor's surgery, Ladywell House again, but next door to the doctor's surgery is a big old building, and that was used to house the Napoleonic officers. And I don't know if you know, but in Newtown we had 350 Napoleonic officers with all their servants imprisoned, and they're all imprisoned in Newtown. And there's been an officer seen in the old house, and also a servant woman, and they used to call the servant woman Martha because they've seen her so often. But there's a great big painting of on the wall upstairs of the HMS Trident, what was in the Battle of Trafalgar, the second ship that was damaged. And now I'm on the subject, the sportsman in Newtown. I'm remembering all the stories now. The sportsman in Newtown, I was called to the sportsman a while back, and that was used as, all the pubs in Newtown were used as prisons to keep all the officers in. Because Newtown, in the end, became a flannel town, and a lot of the French officers were Flemish, and they stayed in Newtown, and they married Newtown women. So, so that's why you had such good flannel. Queen Victoria had her drawers from Newtown. That's how Price Jones' family got famous. And also the first sleeping bag was invented in Newtown. And also the first catalogue, I don't know if you knew this, the first catalogue in the world was invented in Newtown as well. So anyway, the sports, I was called to the sportsman, and he said, can you come upstairs, Rory? I've got CCTV footage to show you. So I'm upstairs, and it's been on our Facebook and on different sites, and everybody said about it. In the distance, you've got an orb coming down the corridor, and all of a sudden, it goes into a big light, and even lights up all the opticals. And it looks like a man with a Napoleon hat, and he goes across the room and then goes back and starts all over again, and keeps on doing the same thing. So I was called into the sportsman to do that. But in the Napoleon War, there was a big fire in Newtown at the sportsman, and two of the officers went across the roof, and the Newtowners say they were like cats going across a roof, and they saved all the people, but they don't know what happened to the officers, so I wondered if they perished. But they were told that they weren't allowed to move out of Newtown, a mile out of Newtown, because if they did, they'd be hanged. Officers' agreement. But the French officers decided to get a stone. If it said it had the mile sign, they used to pick it up, put it in a wheelbarrow, and take it to the next village. As long as they stayed that side of the mile sign, they'd be safe. So that's that. So it's a bit of history there as well. The vestry is on the other side of Newtown, going up the hill, and the vestry. A gentleman was telling me that he was going home one night, and he seen a lady about 6'3", 6'4", coming down the hill, and in long boots with laces and all that, and she went straight past him, and and he noticed that she was floating. That's why she was so tall. But he's seen her going past, but she's been seen a lot by the telephone box and down halfway down. But also along there, this is an old story. This is that this servant was walking home back to the big hall up that end, up towards Kerry, and he met his master on the way down, and his master said, make sure tomorrow you sell the woods. Just make sure tomorrow you sell the woods. And his master went on. So he went back to the house, and in the morning he signed all the documents to say to sell, and all the servants, what are you doing? He said, the master's told me to sell the woods. He goes, well, the master died yesterday. We had telegraphs, whatever they had, the horseman, telling us that he died in London or somewhere like that. But by that time, the document was already over to the other people, and if that document wasn't signed, they would have lost everything. Because the man signed it, they sold the woods, and the whole survived in the same hands, the same family. I've got a really eerie story now. Friends of the family, he's very old now. He was in the early 80s. He was going up the vestry, and it was a beautiful summer's day. And then we used to have really hot summers, not now. And he was going up the vestry, and as he was going up the vestry, all of a sudden, this is a hot summer's evening, all the windows inside the car started freezing over, and you could see his breath, and he's like, what the hell is going on here? And as he was going up the hill, he was shivering and shaking, and he got halfway up the hill to Kerry, and he could see Kerry from a distance, and he goes, I'm not going to make it home, I'm going to die. And he could see his breath, he looked in the mirror, and there was a woman sitting in the back of the car with red hair, like Medusa. Not snakes, but her hair was waving around in the air, you know. And he goes, I'm gonna die. And his wife, by this time, his wife was worried. When he got into Kerry, he stopped the car, and he said he could make out his wife standing in the doorway. And this spirit was still there. As he opened the door, he heard like a suction going, and the spirit turned into a snake and came out of the car and disappeared, and he fell out of the car, and he was very ill after. But he told me that story, so that's quite a scary story, isn't it?